Well, the first thing that I take into consideration is who it is that is interviewing me. It makes a lot of difference what television or radio network may be interviewing you because, as we all know, different broadcasters will have different political biases or different views on matters that you may be interviewed on. So you would do an interview totally differently with, let's say, CBC than with Fox News because you know what they're after and you have to prepare yourself for that. The second thing that I do is I don't always answer your questions, but I will use your questions as a launch pad for me to get my message across to you. So if you ask me a certain question because you're trying to drill down on something that I'm perhaps not interested in answering, or I'm not prepared to answer at this point in time because maybe it's embargoed or maybe it's not ready for an answer, I will use a technique like, that is a really good question. And that actually gets me thinking about, and I will talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about. Or I'm glad you asked me that question because it reminds me of, and then I'm going on my own tangent of what it is that I want to get across. Or that is a very good question, but perhaps we should be talking about, or perhaps you should be asking me about the fundamental issue or the underlying issue, and let's talk about that. So I sort of take your question, I gently turn it around, and I take it where I can. And from different networks, you may have to turn it in different directions because at the end of the day, uh, it is your interview, being my interview. I have certain messages that I want to get across. And much like in the House of Commons or in a legislature, there is a reason why they call it a question period, not an answer period. You can ask what you want. I will give you the answers that I want. But with experience, you become a little bit more skillful. You don't simply want to ignore a question or say, I don't want to answer that question. You just sort of gently take it, maneuver it, and get your own message across.
What advice do you have for people who aren't used to being interviewed?
It's intimidating to be interviewed and knowing that a lot of people will be watching or listening to you. At the beginning when I started doing interviews, I tried to develop a little bit of a personal relationship with the interviewer, and I talk to that person, and I don't look at the camera and sort of pretend that I'm having a one-on-one conversation with someone who has an agenda of her own, who wants to dig up certain things, and not necessarily am I hiding something, but perhaps uh, whatever she is trying to dig up is not a subject that I'm comfortable speaking about right now. So it's like talking to a stranger. You forget about the audience. You tell them what you're comfortable telling them. You stray away from what you're not comfortable telling them. But don't think about the fact that you're being viewed by a lot of people. And another thing is that if you make a mistake, because sometimes you may mispronounce something, or you simply make a mistake, you said something wrong, it's fine to say, stop, let me rephrase that, and then say it properly. And most interviewers will either edit it out and just go to the proper answer, or at least you will have it on the record that I misspoke. Let me take that back. This is not what I meant to say. What I'm trying to say, and then correct your mistakes. And usually it turns out okay. But it takes experience. It takes a little bit of time to feel confident.